So what happens if the authority is all messed up? Like what happens if your prime minister or president is a reckless, irrational, irresponsible idiot? It's going to trickle down to affect the businesses, affect the bosses, affect the people working for the bosses, and it's going to create diminish the morale across the board and diminish what can be accomplished. So these other things can be applied not just to you, but to other people, who's doing what, groups of people, how people are moving in the world. It's Mars. It's who's doing what. But what's right or what's wrong, and what's your stand on it? And are you prepared to work to stop war, stop violence? Saturn, that's the Saturn race. So what is it saying? Young men cause wars and fight the wars. Old men solve the wars. Like after everybody's died and whatever, the solutions and the compromises between different countries, they're made by older people saying, well, we can live with this. We better have this better than war. Comes like this. So Saturn and Mars are fighting each other too. They have their relationship, but Saturn and Jupiter is specific. So even the conjunction square opposition, it has a closer relationship to authority. Now I have Jupiter and Mars conjunct, and Saturn and Pluto squared it. So I have the awareness of the strictness of authority. I'm very self-disciplined, but Pluto's in there. So I grew up being bashed, being hit around, being knocked around. I never had I got strapped in every school year. School was never a safe place. I had extreme abuses coming in on top of the Saturn. So my understanding of Saturn is too severe. So in my life, I've really never worked for someone. I've worked for you. I've worked for people doing chart I'm teaching, but I've never worked for a salary where a boss is telling me I have to do this. But when I stopped trying to fit in, I end up working harder for myself, harder and stronger than any 5 or 10 people. And I accomplish things. So when you look at any moment in time, when I was a young hippie and traveling around and just going for any experience, that was there. But even in those times, you'd have to run into the law or authority or cross borders, and you have limited factors that you have to understand how to get around. You can do that, but you can't do it forever because it accumulates. Whew. Then when I accumulated, so I got older, my wife took off with my 4-month-old son, but I was a distant parent. I was like almost, I guess, some people would say I was a deadbeat dad because I wasn't there. But I got back involved and it changed. But I'm just pointing examples of Saturn to Jupiter, like what's right, what's wrong. Even in a difficult situation when something's gone bad, you can do what's right as opposed to what's wrong. You can make it better rather than worse. This is Jupiter assessing this. Mars is trying to do, Saturn's trying to stop. Saturn's the muscles, Mars is the bones, Jupiter's the understanding, and muscles are always fighting bones. Muscles are trying to push things, bones are trying to anchor it and slow it down, and Jupiter's trying to get them to work together. And assimilating the results and learning from experience. You can learn by a victory, you can learn by a failure. You win the race, you learn the race, lose the race, you can still improve and make it work better the next time. This is Jupiter. But the Saturn coming in, if Saturn's coming in, whether there's an aspect or not, the person has a sense of responsibility. It's really going to improve their guidance of what they're doing. But when you're growing up and just trying to wing it to get your experiences, who needs a sense of responsibility? I just want to have the adventures. Oh, there's a big jump. We have to run into trouble before we mature and grow up. We get through our teenagers, we get through the 20s, we get through the 20s, we got to figure out the 30s. And what we're going to try doing at 40s is very different than what we're doing at 20s. And if we're trying to be 20 when we're 40, we're going to get in a lot of trouble. So you see, this Jupiter presence, it's a huge presence. It's always there. But it takes a while to see what level someone's at in life, where they're doing, how they're guiding their actions. Once you see, oh, they're doing that, then you can begin to see the strengths and weaknesses in that, and maybe help to improve how to get out of that. I mean, if someone's been in a gang for 10 years, it's been their life, but how do you get out of a gang without being killed? There might be ways, there might be steps to approach, there might be ways to go at it, some better, some worse. So if you see someone's there, you might begin to see what understanding is needed to get out of there without anyone getting hurt or without getting hurt yourself. So I'm taking sort of extreme examples. I mean, if you're living with someone, you got the kids, you know, you got a home, you got money that has to be paid, you know, you got an understanding of what has to be done. And then you're trying to guide to do it. But if there's so many commitments and so many things have to be done and it increases, it's hard to live up to that. It's easy to get angry. It pushes the limit. So suppose you're going along, you got a partner, both of you are working and you have your kid and you're bringing them up. And one person decides, I don't want to work, I'll go back to school. I'm going back to school. It's a good thing. It's going to be a better thing. It's going to make things better, but it means for 6 years, you got to pay for everything. Whoa, suddenly heavy shift of Saturn. And a challenge on one's understanding. And the challenge of having to understand, I've got these extra responsibilities I have to do now. Just Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. But if you did, when the understanding comes out, if I don't do this, it's going to get really messed up. If I do, I come out noble, but how much work can I do? This is a good example of Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, how they work together. It's everybody's social sense. You get the inner stuff is the Mercury, Venus, Moon, where someone's coming, what they like, what they don't like, but what they're doing and how you function, what you believe and what you understand, and what you're accomplishing. This is Mars, Jupiter, Saturn in everybody's life. It's like, where do you end and where does the rest of the world begin? So you end at the edge of your skin. That's your body. That's your separate of you. All the things you do outside of your skin, that's affecting others. And it's affecting you. It's coming back to you. That's not who you are. It's what you're doing out there. That's Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. That's the social function, social interactive world. And because these are all spun together or shook up like a salad dressing, we meet someone, they got these pieces all together. But really, when you start separating them and seeing them, you begin to see, oh, look at these different levels. But then how to fathom these different levels or different centers and how they affect each other, you can wonder, you can look, you learn bits and pieces. And it keeps going forever. When I found astrology, I thought, wow, it explains me so well. Now, 50, 45, 47, 48 years later, I'm still learning from it, but I'm seeing it differently. If we find it the different ways, I'm understanding things different ways, and I'm teaching more when I was learning more back then. Okay, what are we doing? Okay, so the Saturn dumps on the Jupiter, but responsibility is being dumped on the Jupiter. Jupiter can usually deal with it. But sometimes Jupiter can take on more than it can handle, more than I know I can't do as much as is demanded, and you need other people to help, so you take a subservient role. It can make a mistake of understanding, try and take on more than it can handle, and it fails. You learn from it. If you take on more than what you handle and you actually succeed at, you handled it. So this, how much can you do for how much strength you have for your muscle tone, for your physicality, for your muscles and your bones? This is a fascinating puzzle for everyone in life. Most astrology is written on this level to what are you going to do, how you're going to find your career, what you're going to work at, you're going to have relationships, whatever. But you're going into what's satisfying and what's security, that's Moon, Venus, Mercury. But what you're doing is Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. So I think there's not really a bad aspect between Jupiter and Saturn. Although in younger life, at some time, there may be a battle, but if your understanding is wrong, you're going to run into struggles with father, boss, authority, legal system, and you may have to learn the repercussions of your mistakes. Wow. You see people getting so popular and they get elected and they become running the country. And all of a sudden, by the time their rule is over, the next people come and say, boy, they really misused it. They should be arrested for what they did. And sometimes they are.